Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ask Me Anything, the knitting edition. I'm Kari Capone, and I'm the founder of The Spinning Hand. I'm so happy to see you tonight, whether you're joining us live or on the replay. Go ahead and comment and let me know where you're watching from. I'm just going to add to the comments here a welcome. Beautiful. So I'm working on a project. You've heard of the emotional support chicken. This is the emotional support bumblebee. His head is in the other room. His head is like this dark navy. Hi, Joan. Welcome. So yeah, I'm making him. I started with double pointed needles, size 11, and he got bigger fast. I'm going to need a lot of stuffing to stuff this baby. And now, so here's where his head will go. And then I'm making him a little smaller and smaller as we get to the tail. So that's what that will be. And then once I attach the head, I'm going to attach some wings as well. I'm looking for like some iridescent yarn, or maybe I'll use white yarn and pair it with like silver or iridescent thread and make wings. And the wings are going to be pockets that I'll sew right on the side of the bumblebee, so we can put little, I don't know, little treasures in there. So Joan, I am going to ship out your first kit tomorrow, the Paris mitts. I'm very excited because the crochet hooks and the knitting needles came today. So that should arrive probably Monday. Yeah. So we've got the Paris mitts coming your way. So thank you. I'm so glad that you subscribed. I'm already working on the September kits, and yeah, I know, I'm so excited too. So I'm going to be putting some good things together for you. Okay, well, I'm going to launch into my spiel, and then for those of you who join us on the replay, welcome, and we'll get to some questions because we had some great questions come in. So here we go. Good evening. My name is Kari Capone, and I'm the founder of The Spinning Hand. And it's our mission to share the joy of knitting and luxury yarn and beautiful creativity to as many people as possible. We are a warm, friendly community. Everyone is welcome here. And I started The Spinning Hand out of a need to find kits to teach other people how to knit. So back in the day, I worked part-time at a local yarn shop, and I was the beginning knitting teacher. It was my favorite thing to teach, was just usually within a half hour or an hour, just seeing that click when someone figures it out. That is so rewarding to me. And it carries through into teaching more advanced techniques. I love it when someone is like, oh, I never knew that before. Thank you. It's my favorite thing. So I'm kind of like, teaching is in my blood. Like, I'm just like a born teacher. I am a trained teacher. So I have a master's degree in education, in music. And I was thinking last night how teaching people knitting is very similar to teaching people music. Oh, hi, Lena. Welcome. So, you know, if you're picking up a new instrument and you've never played it before, you have to figure out, it's like a whole new language, right? There are all these terms, all this terminology, not even thinking about reading sheet music, which is a completely different skill. You know, just getting used to holding the instrument, learning how to make a beautiful sound. It's all very parallel to knitting. So instead of playing the French horn, you are holding a pair of knitting needles. And instead of making a beautiful sound, you're learning to make fabric that you actually want to use and show in public. Right? There's, at least if you're me, it took me so long to figure out how to purl, how to do some really basic things. It takes a while before you're ready for like public display, just like it would be a while before you played your first concert in public. Then there is the reading of patterns. So, like I said, it's a completely different skill than actually knitting, to actually learn to read patterns, just like learning to read music. So what you want to do is you want to hear a lot of music, you want to play a lot of music before the sheet music really makes sense. And I think it's the same with knitting. You want to practice a lot, maybe do swatches and stitches and things that are rectangles or like maybe more simple shapes, and then admire those other sweaters and be like, okay, now that I have kind of the basic components, now I can move on to the more complicated things. But this is all assuming that the patterns make sense. So I'd love it if you could write in the comments if you've ever come across a pattern that has stumped you. I've totally been there. One that comes to mind was some very expensive yarn that I bought from a very famous yarn brand, not naming names, but I bought this expensive sweater kit. It was over $100. And the pattern, while it was technically in English, it was like reading a manual, and it could have been in a different language. It said, there were no diagrams, there were no pictures. It was just, you had to really follow with blind faith. So that sweater did not get made. And I still have this beautiful yarn that, it's like decorating my shelf right over there. So, and it's not, I don't think it's ever malicious, but there's not like a huge consistency in the way that pattern designers create their designs. And so people who are new to sweater knitting are going to run into challenges. And then sometimes the designer would have made it like years ago, and they're not available to answer your questions. So, or this happens a lot. There are some big companies, yarn companies, who have a ton of designs, but then it's not like you can call a helpline necessarily. They don't necessarily know how to fix your problem. So all that to say, I feel like learning to knit well is like learning to play music well. It is really helpful if you have a musician or a professional knitter in the family, in the household, who can just sit down with you whenever you like and help you with your issues. But most of us don't have that. And most of us don't even have a local yarn store where we can go. Or if we do have a local yarn store where we can go to, they don't necessarily have the time or capacity to help us. So all of this to say, this is why I started KCU, which stands for Knit and Crochet University. We're just wrapping up our first semester, and Joan is on the call. Joan is one of our beta students, one of our first, she's in our first class. I know some of our other students couldn't make it tonight because they have other things going on, but we just finished the first sweater, which I think I have with me. Yeah, it's right here. So you might have seen the pictures on Facebook of my hubby modeling this sweater. I tried to make it for myself, but I made it too small in the belly, so it fits him. He's like a clothes hanger, very straight up and down. But I'm going to make another one that fits me. So what we did in the first semester of KCU was we had the plan, right? And we went through each skill, but each student modified the plan, which became a pattern, for their own measurements. So each person comes out of KCU with a sweater that fits her exact measurements and her desired measurements. Oh, thank you. Joan says, such a great pattern. And it's really satisfying. So one of our students made it in DK weight, so she modified it for her gauge. And the rest of us, we made it in Aran weight. One of our students, Kathy, finished the KCU sweater and has started a second. So yeah, it's very satisfying. It's this nice, like, cozy cardigan, and the yarn is incredibly soft, like so soft. Okay, so let me take a minute here and we'll get to a question. Yeah, I love this question. Lena, this was yours, I think. Let me take a swig and then answer it. And I have props to answer this question. So the question is, could you demonstrate a better way to position my wrists that will create less strain? And I love this question because, again, with the parallel to music, you always want to hold your instrument so that there's no tension in your body. One thing I practiced when I went to music school was the Alexander technique, and it has to do with posture, the way that you're breathing and moving in your body. I played French horn, and for years, I would hold the French horn and then adjust my body to meet the instrument instead of bringing the instrument to meet my body. So it's it affects your airflow, it affects everything. Now, even if you're not playing a wind instrument, when you're playing the piano, and let me hide the question because I think we can remember it. When you're playing the piano, it's the same kind of thing. The instrument will sound better when your body is relaxed and free of tension. And actually, your wrist positioning is very important when you play the piano. And I know you can't really see my hands, but it's similar to if you are typing at a keyboard. So if you have a desk job, as a lot of us do, and you're typing at the computer all day, there are a lot of components that go into it. Knitting is no different. So yes, maybe for Instagram, you'll see a picture of someone curled up on a couch in like this, laid back way, but that's not really realistic for all of us. I find that if I knit in that position for too long, the cricks and creaks start to come up and things fall asleep. So ideally, like if I'm knitting for a project, on a deadline, or if I just know I'm going to be knitting for a while, I have my chair, I have the proper support. I usually put my feet up, like on a footstool, that kind of thing, so that like my whole body is supported. I know it sounds funny just for knitting, but with any repetitive motion, and especially to protect like the carpal tunnels and all of the many, many, many ligaments and tendons in your wrists and in your fingers, the whole body posture is something you can think about. So that's my first tip is check your body. My second tip is to actually do finger exercises, and I just literally like massage my own fingers and palms before and maybe every half hour when I'm knitting. Although I have to say, my fingers have gotten so strong over the years that I don't need to do this anymore. But at first I definitely did. And when I crochet, I have to do it more often because my hands aren't as used to crocheting. But if you are achy or in any kind of pain, even if it's that like kind of overuse, like strain, so maybe it's not a sharp pain, but it's a strain, you got to take a break. Like there's no knitting through pain. That's no, because you will just do damage. All right, so here's my prop. When I first started teaching at the local yarn shop, I went to the pharmacy supply store and got these bad boys. these fingerless mitts. They're compression gloves, but I think they're kind of cute. And I didn't check online before we went online tonight if the brand is still there, but I'll put it in the comments. It's called iMac. It was maybe $20, but then again, it was quite some years ago. So I think you can go on Amazon. I think you could go, etc. So yeah, let me show you with needles. I don't have my overhead camera on right now, but yeah, I can show you. Do you mean like show me knitting with the needles? It's going to be tricky. I'm going to stand up. Yeah. So, yeah. Right now, yeah. Yeah. It's fine. So, yeah. So, like shoulders relaxed. And then if you want to have your hands resting on your lap, that's fine. But you don't want your wrist to break. See the break in the line? Yeah, you just want them to be straight. And often I'll have something supporting under my elbows here so that there's no, sometimes the knitting gets heavy, so that there's no strain on the wrists when you're knitting. All right. The next question that I really liked was from Joy. I wonder, Joy, if you were, oh yeah, just going back, 45-degree angles, that I'm going to say is not as important. You know, whatever works for you. For me, yes, it's about 45-degree angles. Yeah, you're quite welcome. All right. Joy, are you on the call tonight? I loved this question. She says, I am a devoted knitter. Sometimes I lose interest in a project and it becomes a slog. Yes, so been there. Is there any way for me to respark my excitement so that I enjoy finishing the project? So a couple of things. First of all, if this has also happened to you, could you let me know in the comments? For me, someone just put an angry face. For me, my naughty project, my project that I had to put in timeout was, it was a quilt, and I wasn't very good at quilting. Let's just say that. And so I had to put it in timeout for months, and I needed help. I needed someone else to help me. That was the only way that I could finish it. So a couple of things. Number one, find a friend. Find someone else who might also have a project like that. Dee says, been there, done that. Yeah. So we almost all of us have a project like this. So it's misery loves company. It's more fun with a friend. So if you can have a get it done night, my husband and I call it eating the frog. So almost every day in our respective lives, we have to do something that we don't want to do. This is kind of embarrassing, but today I had to go pick up my prescription because I have to get my first colonoscopy. I did not want to do that. I've been putting it off for so long. So I followed my own advice and I got a friend. In this case, it was my son, my 21-year-old son. He goes, yes, I will go with you to Target to pick up your prescriptions, which was so nice. Like just having someone else do it. We were like making jokes. It made it much easier. So that's my one recommendation is to go ahead and find somebody else to achieve this with. Number two, reward yourself. So if you work on this project that has lost its luster, work on it for an hour, set a timer, and then at the end of that hour, reward yourself in some way. That is up to you. The size of the reward or the nature of the reward is up to you. I'm very very motivated by sugar. So I will give myself a cookie. I will have some ice cream. But yes, that's my second advice, is to reward yourself for making some progress on the project. Depending on the timeline, my third suggestion is to just give it a rest. Set a reminder in your phone, on the computer, in your paper calendar, and say, 1 month from now, I'm going to look at this again, but I'm not even going to think about it or address it for a month. It's dead to me. It's in the timeout drawer. That is a perfectly valid thing to do too. And then after a month or 6 months or 3 weeks or whatever the timeline is that you've decided is over, then take a look at it. And you know what? If your heart still sinks after this project has been in timeout for 3 weeks or however long, it is completely acceptable to just say, thank you for your service, and set it free into the universe. I cannot tell you how many skeins of yarn and projects I have donated unfinished or unwound, like not even wound into a ball, just in its hanky form, because it just didn't spark joy. There's one skein of yarn that I'm thinking of in particular. It was the most beautiful blue, and I thought, I'm going to make something with this. And it sat and it sat and it sat. It's like a very super bulky wool. And I'm like, I can't. I ended up giving it to my friend Nicole. She made the most gorgeous garter stitch scarf out of it. She was an early knitter. And I said, well, that's where that yarn was meant to be. You know, it was just going to a happier home somewhere else. So those are my 3 tips. I hope that is helpful to you. Okay. Now, something else I want to encourage you, and the reason that I chose that question for last, is there is a 4th way to rekindle your love of a project, and that is to learn something new. So I should say, to re-spark your joy in knitting overall, is when you are learning and when you are in an environment where it's positive and supportive and you're with other people who are trying to improve their skills, it becomes magical. I've done more knitting during this first semester of KCU than I can remember in a very, very long time. And, you know, people say, oh, don't you get tired of knitting? And I really don't. Whether I'm knitting for KCU or the knitting kits that we put together or the 12-day sweater challenge, it's my favorite thing ever. So I'd like to invite you to join us for the fall semester of KCU. So you can find more information at the website below. I'll put it in the comments as well. And the reason that I'm opening up the doors now is we're having early registration. So the price is going to go up. Right now it's $495 for lifetime access if you pay once. We also have monthly payment plans where you'll pay a little bit more. But in the fall, we're bumping up that one-time payment to $595. So if you join before the fall, and we're actually going to close the doors on Monday, then you'll get that early registration price. So let me just put the link in there. Okay. So what is KCU like? Well, here's what you'll get. When you join KCU, you get full access to our knitted sweater course. So that sweater that I just showed you, you get full access to that course. What it looks like is a series of videos, step by step, taking you through the measurements. There's homework. You send it to me. I send you back your pattern. And then you make this sweater from soup to nuts, from start to finish. And then at the end, you have your own personal pattern with your measurements to fit you. You'll also get access to the crochet course, which is starting in September. And I'll go ahead and post in the event the picture of the crochet sweater. It was just finished yesterday. And Verna, the designer, she's the owner of Pine Cones and Pearls. She modeled it. It looks amazing. It's so comfy. It's so cute. And so we're going to have that course start in September. Now, do you have to be a gifted crocheter in order to complete this course? No. All you need to know is how to do the chain stitch and the half double crochet stitch, just like a few basic stitches. We'll also have tutorial videos in KCU in case you need to brush up on your skills. Same with knitting. As long as you can cast on, knit, purl, and bind off, you can do the sweater. We take you through anything else that you need. You do have lifetime access, and we add new courses each semester. So eventually, this is only our first semester that we finish, but eventually I want you to have a library of patterns so that this one was a bottom-up cardigan. You'll also have the one-piece crochet pullover. Then you'll have top-down raglans and just keep building your repertoire each year. You also get a discount. So if you decide to buy the yarn for the sweaters, then you get a 25% discount off the cost of the yarn. You can also use your own yarn. I just can't promise that the gauge is going to work out the same. Those people who are already in KCU get first dibs on the colors. And sometimes I can reorder more of the same colors and sometimes I can't. So the people who join now are going to get first dibs over the color choices before the people who join in the fall. What else? We meet in person, not in person, but on video, on Zoom twice a month. And that you can ask me anything. And we're all on camera. You don't have to be on camera if you don't want to be, but it's not like this where you're just commenting. It's a Zoom call. So, you can hold up your project, you can get help. And I will be answering questions for the knitting and the crocheting in the fall and leading you a little bit more rigorously through the crochet sweater and then just answering questions for the knitting course as well. Okay. Let me take a little seltzer break and let me see if there are any questions. I am going to be announcing a full scholarship winner to KCU. I've decided I'm going to do that via email because not everyone was able to make it to the live. So you can look for that email over the weekend. So someone will get a full scholarship, which will be lovely. I love to teach and I also like giving gifts. Two things that I love. Okay, let me show you what Kathy has to say. Kathy is one of our students. She said, Kari, again, many thanks for KCU. I have learned so very much, and I just copied and pasted all those O's. And I just absolutely love the positive environment that you have created. I can't wait to do the crochet sweater as it is gorgeous. Thank you. Yeah, I definitely, again, like with the positive environment, there's no behind in KCU. That's what I like to say. So if you can't make it to a class or you haven't started your sweater or anything like that, you have lifetime access. So there's no problem. People have to live their lives. And so I'm here for you. I will also never say you're doing it wrong. One of the questions that I didn't cover tonight, though, it had to do with like knitting continental versus English style, which is correct. And my answer is you knit and you get the fabric that you desire. So definitely. And again, that's the same as my philosophy as a teacher of anything is you really aren't going to learn unless you feel safe and welcomed, which maybe seems like a weird thing to say for a knitting course, but it's true. We're human. So we need to feel safe and accepted in order to really, truly absorb what we're learning. Okay. Soapbox over. All right. Well, I hope that you can join us. And if not, we are going to open up again in the fall. The price is going to go up, but I hope you really think about joining us. Oh my gosh, Joan, thank you. Joan says, I couldn't agree more. Kari, you are a great teacher, and thank you for creating KCU. I have conquered my fear of making my first sweater. Joan, you've been a wonderful, wonderful student, and I'm so glad to meet you virtually, and I do hope to come to Massachusetts and meet you in person soon. All right. Well, I thank you so much for your time tonight. Take a look at your emails over the weekend. We're going to be launching until Monday night, and I'll announce our scholarship winner. And I'll also continue to do the 12-day sweater challenge. So you'll hear from me every day through Monday, and we'll finish up this 12-day sweater. Thank you so much, everyone. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.